Hi, my name is Danica, and today I wanted to talk about reading in winter and how difficult I find November. So lately I've been realizing that in November, every year I seem to get a real drop in energy and in mood. Part of that probably has to do with how cold and dark it gets. Part of it is probably working in retail, where November is the startup to the busiest, most stressful part of the year. And working retail during Christmas can be exhilarating and it can make the day go by faster, but it can also be exhausting. To go along with this drop in energy and mood, I have fallen behind on my Goodreads challenge, which I know is just an arbitrary number, but it's also kind of an indicator of something with me. In general, the less I read, the worse I feel, and the worse I feel, the less I tend to read. So I just wanted to make a video talking about that and whether other people also experience that. I always have this idyllic view of reading in the winter, like I imagine it as, curled up on a chair with a blanket and a hot chocolate and like a dog curled up at my feet and a purring cat in a fireplace and there's snow falling softly outside. But for one thing, I don't have a dog or a fireplace. It doesn't really snow here. And for another thing, in the winter, when I get under a blanket, I just want to sleep. So although it seems like winter should be a perfect time to read, it's cold, you're inside, like why not curl up with a book? But it doesn't actually seem to work out that way for me. One thing that has worked for me lately is reading comics, especially single-issue comics. The visual aspect really pulls me in and keeps my eyes from drifting off the page, but it's also nice to sit down with a single comic or even a stack of them and feel like I can get through this in one sitting instead of picking up this huge 900-page novel and feeling like it's just going to take me forever. I also find ebooks for some reason a lot more difficult to hold my attention. I find that most of the time, but it gets worse if I'm out of it in any way. I think it's because I can't physically see the progress that I'm making. It might be because it reminds me of online reading, and my online reading tends to be really short. You flip through things really quickly, so reading a whole book seems way too long in that format. I actually bought an ebook from Amazon for the first time recently because when I was going to book ride, I wanted a book right away that I could read on the plane, so I just bought it in an ebook format. And then when I was buying it, it said I could buy the audiobook as well for like $6 more, and that it would sync up so I could switch between the audiobook and the ebook, and I thought that might be good for the plane where I'm sleep deprived and maybe can't actually read but could listen to it. I ended up too out of it to even listen to the audiobook, but I did find out that you can do the narration feature, which means that you listen to the audiobook but you also read along on the page and it highlights the words as the audiobook is reading them out. And while I was on the plane and sleep deprived, and I can't sleep on the plane, it's a whole thing, that was the only way that I could read because it was a little bit of both. Anything that I missed in the audio I was reading along with, and anything I missed in the text I was listening to. So I've found that when I'm starting to get really out of it and low energy, that helped me a lot to be able to read in some way. So those are a couple of things that have helped with my winter reading slump. Do any of you get the winter blahs, and how do you deal with it? Does it affect your reading? Do you read more in the winter or less? I'm really curious about how this affects other people. It's only this year that I've really realized how many people are affected by the seasonal change and how many people do experience that drop in mood when the light goes away. I think it's a good thing to talk about so people are more aware of it and so that you might be able to realize about your own mood that it's not forever, it's just the season. So let me know if this is something you experience and how it affects your reading life, and thank you for watching. Bye!